actual speed, but speed.
Cashamaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome back to Geo Gearheads, episode 479. This time we're going to be talking about cache maintenance once again. I'm Daryl W4, back as usual with Chris of the Northwest.
Daryl, so good to see you. Have you had a good week? Okay, bye, Daryl.
Wow.
Daryl can't seem to hear me.
No, I went and faded down the wrong pot.
Oh, wondered why I wasn't talking, were you?
Well, and I was wondering why I didn't have you at all, because it went like, ooh.
Well, Daryl. And then sometimes
that's exactly what I thought you were doing to me.
Oh,
you never play games like that with me.
No, not you. Not me. Not any of them. We're a professional podcast.
Wait a minute. I don't think you understand what that means.
Yeah. Hey, have you gotten any of the new wonders of the world?
Oh, I have all the natural wonders. We did that all in one day as a trail. Just it was a kind of cool trail. This one roughly mile section of road has this really cool sidewalk that includes a bunch of pretty tall bridges.
Oh, interesting.
So we did the trail on that. It was one of the local finders who hid all of them in a series as like thank yous to the people who he found the most caches from. So 10 caches.
Really nice.
Yeah, 10 caches for each of his 10 most popular hiders as of when he hit it. So number 1 was for the hider from whom he found the most caches. 2 was the second, and all the way down to 10.
Wow. That's really cool. Yeah, that kind of tribute cache to your personal top 10 hiders.
Exactly. Very, very, very cool. It's kind of meh hides. They're bison tubes. But what I thought interesting about it is he had the logs where he had taken little clips of a straw, little clippings of a straw, and slit it and used that as like a clip to hold the log tight. So you put it into the
a log retention device.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it goes in and comes out really easy.
I just went on a small caching road trip with MC3 cats and we ran into a bunch of those as well. I was like, oh, these are so nice. They were using the little bitty clear vials, DNA tubes, or whatever you want to refer to them as.
Yeah.
And having that bit of straw, plastic straw, which, is killing all the animals and destroying the ocean. So, we can't have that any longer. But if you cut up those straws that you would have thrown away and put them around cache logs, boy, it really works out well.
Yeah, it's a nice little use of something pretty simple. GSM times 2 says that Yosemite John and Debbie did that for their top 10 hiders and top 10 finders. Very nice.
Nice. I like that idea of a series of a tribute cache rather than just, here's, walkway number 1 through 10, go find them.
Yeah, it gives a little bit something extra. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, we went out and did the 10. And of course, we'd hoped that with 10 in a row like that, we'd get all 7 of the natural wonders and start on the solar wonders. Is that what it is?
Solar system wonders.
Solar systems. Yeah. But of course, 1 was missing. So we had to run into the woods and get that final cache. So 11 caches, we got all 7.
Did you sing songs as you ran into the woods and out of the woods? Okay.
No, we were getting a little too wet. That was when all the snow that was melting, and it was a nice day to be out, but there was a reason we picked the sidewalk.
Yes.
You've been in the Midwest during the snow melt. You don't want to be out on the trails.
No, you want a firm foundation under your feet.
Right.
You get that mud and it's nasty.
So how far are you in the natural wonders?
I found, I want to say 19, 20 caches that day, but only got 5 of the 7 natural wonders.
See, and that's the frustrating thing about it, is if you do it right, you're going to find all of those caches and can't get that next set of credits until you finish that tier.
Right.
So we have 4 tiers in total now. We started with the modern wonders, went to the ancient wonders. Now we're on the natural wonders, and then you have the solar system wonders.
Well, yeah, but I've already got the first 2 tiers.
Right. So yeah, you have
yeah.
to finish the one tier before you can move on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually admit to thinking about, well, do I just save these drafts until I finish these up, and then I can get whatever they are supposed to be for the solar system wonders?
Yeah, I figure normally if I was time constrained, I might consider that. Right? Log them in
There's
order
no time on this one.
to get the maximum benefit from them. But since there's no time and you've got till the end of the year, I'm just going to cache as I normally do, knowing that I will complete that as I go along.
Well, at least through the end of the year.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, they're kind of leaving this one open, and I'm wondering if we're going to see more tiers added on in the coming years. Even
I really like the digital treasure. I think that's the official term they're using, right? Digital treasure.
I'm not sure. Well, because they called them digital clues before. So I'm thinking the term will vary depending on what the promo is.
The digital items within.
Right.
Oh, sorry. TSM times 2 says another alternative to straws is irrigation tubing. Mr. DSW uses those.
And then also Bellagio and I made special plan. She got them all in one day by logging them as we got them. I created drafts and apparently logged something wrong and have 2 solar systems to go. And then Annie says, I have 1 solar system place to get. We'll get it at some point during my regular caching outings.
Yeah. Well, so, there's something to say about logging as you go. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, and that's the way I generally prefer to do it anyway. I want to know what caches I found in what order.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I see your point. Yes, that's nice. Does it really matter? Not so much.
Yeah, so it's who. There's a lot of people who are going to care about it, but who does it really impact is just yourself.
Right.
So don't worry about it too much. If people want to log out of order, they log out of order. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. So, just let it go. But we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about cache maintenance, because this is that time of year where the seasons are changing. And if you haven't recently got out to do your cache maintenance, it's probably a good time to do that.
Kind of goes along with spring cleaning.
It does. And one of the big reasons for that is with the season changes, you'll have temperature changes, weather changes in general, that will have affected the caches. So sometimes it will be like the high heat has made the cache more brittle or cracked it, with the heating and cooling, and it just cracks or expands and cracks or whatever.
Or the UV rays of the sun have.
You might have had someone that's decided to nest in it.
Ooh.
Or in the winter months, we'll have that freezing and cracking, and if it doesn't crack, any water that melted and froze overnight on those chilly nights will seep in and then freeze and essentially create potholes in your caches.
Oh, wow.
Not to
I came
mention the snow that might get in there and
right.
melt when it gets better. And, well, soggy log.
Ah,
So
soggy log.
lots of reasons to get out there this time of year.
I did come across a soggy log that was wrapped up in one of those tube, and I both of us, for the life of us, could not find the end. Like, even if we peel this thing, I think it's just going to fall apart.
Been
So
there, done that.
luckily, MC3 Cats had his caching kit. He was the driver, so um, he reached in and he originally pulled out Write in the Rain paper. He's got a Write in the Rain notebook. And this is something you should probably have with you. You could have one of the classic 3-inch by 5-inch Write in the Rain notebooks. There are 50 sheets in there for $4. Right? You have one of those. If you fold it in half and roll it up, it fits into one of those small tubes really quite well. So he just happened to have an exact container, so we did a 1-for-1 swap.
Well, and what I used to do with the Write in the Rain is get the printer paper. So you
Mm-hmm.
could run it through the printers. And they have two different types, although I'm not sure they still have it. But they have the two different types, one for inkjet, one for laser printers. Because the way that those two technologies work require totally different paper.
I did not see inkjet
They might have discontinued that.
because I went and looked there. You can get loose leaf binders.
Because I
printer paper.
remember they were having some issues with it, and a lot of the newer printers changed their chemistry, and they don't actually work right with the
Right.
inkjet back, 15 years ago when I was doing my testing on it.
Yeah. So what I see is no longer inkjettable, but it is photo and laser printer capable, front and back. It's wood-based paper, so you can recycle it. There's no special processing to it. You can just toss it in the recycling.
Sure.
It won't melt or collect a static charge in the printer, unlike some synthetic sheets. So the toner won't rub off or wash off.
Yeah. GSM Times 2 says they say do not use inkjets unless you want to clean your inkjet printer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they probably killed it. And overall, I highly recommend laser printer only, especially try to use colored laser printers.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference is this. First off, inkjets are all based on a liquid. So when it gets wet, the papers are designed to absorb, if you're using the inkjet papers, the water, or it doesn't hold the ink. So it will bleed and run. The laser printers are two different types of toner. So for a black and white, it's typically like a graphite based toner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recommend those because it just kind of sits on the top. And I've had a lot more trouble, especially in my testing, with that graphite coming off, especially after a lot of flexing. Or what I found is freeze thaw affected it. And when the paper started getting exposed to a lot of light, it started coming off more. The testing, and this was all testing that I did way, way, way back when Muncie was first starting out, and we were leaving these sheets of paper and stickers and all that kind of stuff in freezers. We were putting it out on
Mm-hmm.
fence posts and stuff to try it and see what actually worked well. The color laser printers had the fewest number of problems. There's almost no fading because it is a plastic based toner that when it melts, it fuses together and does stick to the paper a little bit better. Now, that's not absolutely true because we were finding some different technologies worked better than others. The HP was the worst at the time. I don't know if that's still the case. It would come off the easiest and would come off in like sheets.
Mm.
The
Like
Canon
you
was the
could
best.
use that as a transfer of some sort. You could peel off all your
Almost.
toner. Yeah.
Almost. But the
Just
fact that the
print
Canon was
backwards and iron
working.
it on.
Sorry, what was that?
Just print it backwards and iron it onto a shirt.
Yeah. Well, and at the time they were making those transfer sheets for the laser printers.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find them as of a couple of years ago. But the fact that the Canon worked the best was always hysterical to me. And we're not talking about the big copiers, we're talking about the little home printers.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing my service bureau work, we had the big old Canon color laser copiers when that was a new, very expensive big thing. And we had problems with that toner not sticking all the time. So I found it quite humorous that Canon laser printers are better than the HPs at that.
Interesting. So, I did look up Right in the Rain printer paper. You can get 50 sheets for about $15, or you can get a 500 sheet ream. That's about 70. I think you can save a few dollars on Amazon if you look there. So, I mean, it's 50 sheets is going to get you enough. If you print out a format of, a couple of bison tubes and some nanos and other things you line up on a page properly, you're going to get a bunch of logs out of each sheet.
See,
On a boat says on the packaging of the paper itself, the Right in the Rain, it says use LaserJet or photocopier.
he also says he would honestly recommend finding a geocaching vendor that sells log sheets made out of the Right in the Rain paper and just buy from them. It saves a lot of hassle, which shows the difference between the two of us because I used to work in the print industry. So to me, that's not much hassle. I actually used to enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
I still have some log sheets in the basement that came from my old apartment that I haven't used, that I'm never going to use because they have my ex's name on them. So it's like, I got to just throw these away.
Can you just cut the top off?
Well, but that's where the bindery was done too.
Hmm.
So I actually had a pretty decent bindery back at the old apartment because I was actually, this is long enough ago that the internet was a new and exciting thing. So we were
Errol,
doing,
you are old.
yeah, we were doing the printed flyers with like informational handouts on, the various things that we were talking about to bring people to the websites. And so, we had the full bindery operations to do the books, to do the, so all of that kind of stuff in low volume. But yeah, my laser printer, I had a production laser printer that I got in cheap. That thing had gone through somewhere around 70 or 80,000 sheets. And most of those were double-sided by the time that I had to finally get rid of it. And of course, the printer still worked fine, but the controller card fried.
Well, there you go.
We had a power outage and it fried that. It fried a couple of the switches. It's like, this is why I have UPSs and everything. But the problem is you can't put laser printers on a UPS.
Mm-hmm.
So the laser printer blew and took the switches with it.
Yikes. I do miss working at the school where I had a professional level print shop available to me that we could get all this done and they came out beautiful. So I miss that. But Ian says, I personally prefer to print them myself, but in my experience, a lot of people don't have a laser printer and they don't have the know-how to do it.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, Ian. And I had for a long time no laser printer anymore. I did not bring my laser printers with me when I moved into this place. After a few years of dealing with inkjet, we went back to laser.
Oh yeah.
It's worth the money. I mean, granted, you can get much better photos off of a good inkjet than you can off of a laser.
Yeah, probably.
No, well, most of the photo printers are actually inkjets.
Hmm.
But I might add that most of those inkjets don't do as well at printing text.
Right. Exactly.
So, if you're getting a photo printer, you get a photo printer.
Yeah.
Wet Coaster says, go ahead.
Go ahead. You're reading it.
Wet Coaster says, I had a local clanmate that worked at a printing place, and he was allowed to print a limited number of munsies each month. The boss changed, and no more printing.
Aw.
And one of the things that goes along with that is it does get a lot more expensive for some of the stuff over time.
Mm-hmm.
A good example of that was we used to have a ID card printer that we'd used for doing low volume gift cards at work. We actually just shut down that portion of the business because the price of gold shot up and made the red portion of those thermal transfer ribbons very expensive. So we went from cost of about 5 cents a card to a cost of about $1.20 a card.
Wow.
That ended that part of the business. So that kind of stuff does happen.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned something that would be a good idea. Put different widths logs on the same sheet of paper.
Yeah. If you've got a large bison tube, you want to go the 11-inch length of the paper. But if you're working with a nano, the 8-inch width is plenty.
Well, one of the things that I will recommend as well is fold the paper in half down the middle. So you print, fold it, and then you sandwich that log, and it makes it a little easier to roll up. But that's also how you can make books for your, if you want to make your own log books for your caches. And one of the things that we haven't talked about at all is making these log sheets, these log books, unique and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I did as my first cache, first Geo Savings and Loan, where the logbook were the old fashioned deposit tickets from the bank. So it had the deposit withdrawal section cordoned off for the tracking numbers and everything, caching name, all that kind of stuff. So it, and it had the cache ID, the GC code on there, branch number, blah. So
that's
that
brilliant.
Kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that you can easily print out multiple sheets of, cut them, and even if you just punch a hole and put a O-ring, a clip O-ring through it.
Yeah,
I can't think of the word what those are. But that will hold it together nicely, and people will remember that. Oh, that was different.
Yeah, avoid the binder clips though; they will rust. They're great, but if you're in any kind of humid environment, they will rust pretty easily. But they are great for all kinds of other stuff. Just don't put them outside.
Mm-hmm.
The rings that Chris was talking about are usually stainless steel, so they won't have that issue. But even just stapling them works very well. Now, keep in mind, if you have more than about 10 sheets, you can't use your regular stapler.
Right.
But the staples will also rust. So again, you will have to change out your log sheets a little bit more regularly.
And if you're only going 10 sheets at a time, you're going to have to change it out more often, probably before you're going to get any real damage from the rusting staples.
Well, again, it depends on how you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, you can't fit 10 sheets into like a bison tube.
No, but an ammo can.
But if you're doing like a matchstick container, you can certainly do that.
Yeah.
And again, what I would do is take the 10 sheets, staple it in the middle, and fold it over like a book. And that makes it easier and quicker to roll up and fit in there.
And, again, it's just something a little different. You may get a favorite point just for the format of the log. You never know.
Wet Coaster says, search online for pre-printed log sheets to use for free. And I have seen some of those too with the form fields so that you can actually fill in they're just PDFs. Fill in your GC number, fill in your contact information, do that kind of stuff, and you can personalize it quickly and easily and not have to do any design at all.
Right.
And
Or if
we used to actually have log sheets pre-designed on Cacher Maniacs.
Mhm.
So they might still even be up there. I don't know. I haven't looked. I probably should have done that before the show.
Well,
You have a search handy?
I
GSM times 2 says we're inspiring him to make his own. He's only been using the free ones for years. Yeah, I would definitely recommend doing your own logs if you have any inclination to do so.
I don't. There was a time Right in the Rain had a area where you could upload pre-printed or pre-formatted sheets, and I did one for geocaching, but I don't see that anymore.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't doubt that a lot of that stuff has gone away. If nothing else, the liability of copyright infringement has driven a lot of companies to kill it.
On a Boat says, I'm going to have to upgrade to a new laser printer now that I've gotten more involved in hiding caches. I'm wearing the inkjet out.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And that's the other thing. We're totally off the cache maintenance, but this is kind of important stuff for geocachers. One of the problems that you'll run into with the inkjets is they don't like not being used.
Oh,
so
yes.
If they sit too long, you will run into problems. Likewise, if you print too much, they will run into problems. Laser jets will sit and be happy for years. I know a guy who's got a 30-year-old laser printer that he's still using.
Mm-hmm. Some of the original Apple laser printers were really good.
Oh, yeah, that was at Canon engine, which HP actually used that same engine for a while as well. But they're slow, they're loud, and they were only 300 DPI.
Yeah. So 15 or more years ago, I started a job, and it was at the school, and they had inkjet printers in every room that they let set over the summer. And, one of my jobs is to get 50 sets of black and color cartridges, go to each room and make sure they work. And there's, when ink is in those tubes and gets dried out, they are a bugger to clean out.
Oh, yeah. If you can even do it without breaking stuff.
Right. So, go with inkjet or go with laser over inkjet. You will be so much happier. Yes, you won't get color, or if you get color, it's going to be more expensive, but it's going to be a far better product.
Well, and if you're doing it for geocaching, I really recommend spending the extra for the color, because the logs and stuff like that will last a lot better. Yeah. And there are some vinyl sticker materials that you can get and run through laser printers. I've got one sitting in the other room. I just haven't had a chance to use now. But my plan is to actually do some stickers off the color laser printer. And I had done this previously with my old color laser printer, where you take the stickers, print up fake can labels and whatnot, and go and throw caches and things out there. So you can have just your standard, geocaching warning labels on there, or you can get creative, what's that guy? Obvious Plant. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I love Obvious Plant. Yes.
Yeah. So you can get into doing some of those kind of things. And if you're good with an X-Acto knife, you can take one of those clear jars, put a label on it, and it looks like it's a product package.
Yes.
Not that hard to do, but it is really creative.
GSM times 2 says, you're inspiring me to make my own. I've been using the free one for years. So I would suggest,
go ahead.
I would suggest you get into Excel or Google spreadsheets. You can make one up relatively quickly and, size it as you need to. So that would be my suggestion. Use
He also
this
said
one.
he had a brother for about 30 years. It was still working, but upgraded for the wireless capabilities. And that's the one thing that I will say about the newer printers that you can't do with those old like PostScript lasers, because otherwise those PostScript laser printers will work forever.
Mm-hmm.
As long as something doesn't go wrong. But the reason to upgrade is the wireless printing functionality on most is compatible with your Android and iOS devices. So you can print from your phone or tablet, which for most of us makes a big deal. I don't print much from the computer anymore, but I print a whole lot of things like travel vouchers, coupons, itineraries from my phone right as I'm about to walk out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a valuable feature. I will say that.
Yeah.
And you can't get it
having
on
that,
the laser.
yeah, and not having to email it to your desktop so you can print it out and da da da.
Yeah.
Another thing. So we've talked a lot about logs. Maybe this show should just be on logs and we go on from there because having a good log
We're
makes
over
all the
half
difference.
an hour into it.
I know.
And all we've talked about are logs.
Oh, GSM times 2 says, I believe you save a lot of money with laser over inkjet. I'm buying inkjet cartridges every couple of months. Yeah. And, I've used the ones where you can refill them or buy the refill kit and use a syringe. And that works a time or two, saves you a little bit, but it's a hassle.
Well, and those refill cartridges don't generally, the aftermarket ones generally don't work so well. There are printers, though, if you are doing a lot of printing, that have the ink only and there is no cartridge.
Yeah, the tank, they have a built-in tank.
Yeah, the one that comes to mind is the Eco Tank from Epson.
It's the only one I can think of.
There are more out there. Brother had one. Kodak actually had one before they went Ted's up. But the big plotters, which are inkjets, all work that way. So if you get into the really big commercial stuff, almost all of those have ink tanks that you connect, not cartridges.
Yeah, but most of those are big enough that they need to take your extra bedroom in the house to use.
You're
and
talking
properly,
printers that are at least 4 feet wide.
So much for guests. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's our printing room.
Ian says, pro tips on cache maintenance. Hide your caches in places where cachers aren't going to be noticed by a bunch of nosy people that will end up muggling your cache.
Such as if you're going to hide a cache in a parking lot LPC, that's a light pole cache. Hide it on the side of the building, not right in front of the front door.
And I'm going to go so far as to say don't hide an LPC anywhere that you have snowplows.
Yeah. I still wanted, we don't get enough snow here, but I still want to hide LPC in every light post, wait for the plows to come through. And the one that's buried the most, I'm going to publish. And
we
watch.
have a lot of the skirts that were torn off by the snowplows this year.
Somebody will go get it.
All right. So let's move on from the logs. And you wanted to talk about O-ring kit, I believe.
So I looked up an O-ring kit on Amazon that has 18 different sizes of nitrile rubber O-rings, right? So if you've got a cache with an O-ring on it, that could be a nano, that could be a bison tube. I've seen some of the big bisons, anything with an O-ring on it. That's really nice to have a replacement for it, for that O-ring as it goes through an entire season. It's going to dry out, get rough. It may have been dropped off by a cacher. Go replace it. It'll keep everything nice and dry inside. And if you've got this kit with you, it's $12 for 770 O-rings. Maybe you can fix one when you're out in the field.
One of the guys that I was talking with said that he had the O-rings on all his caches and he pulled them off, all of his bison tube caches, because he found that they were causing leaks. So I needed to find out more about that and never did.
Interesting.
it's one of those your mileage may vary kind of things, I think.
Mhm.
But my guess is once that O-ring starts to crack, it's not sealing anymore. So all of a sudden it's going to
Right.
start having problems.
Right. And once you know the size you need, you can go buy, 50 of that individual size on Amazon relatively cheap.
I'm sure. And then the other thing that you had was for the actual like lock and locks. Oh, go
GSM
ahead.
times 2 says, "What O-ring will last a year? I've never seen them last more than a couple of months."
Again, your mileage may vary.
Yeah, you're in a hot, dry environment. It's gonna be rough on anything.
Yeah, this is one of those things where if it's too dry, the O-rings will start to typically crack,
Mhm.
especially if it's hot and it's kind of forcing it to leach out. I'm in one of those climates that as long as it doesn't get too cold, I've seen them last for years.
Mhm.
But as soon as you got that freeze thaw, or if it's in the sun, they don't last. Do, do, do. On a boat says a lot of maintenance issues on my caches are caused by careless cachers not reclosing the container properly, not sealing the baggie, handling the log with wet hands, and putting it back,
Mhm.
etc. And I admit that I've had some problems with that kind of stuff myself, especially when it's raining and I still want to go caching. Or not putting the cache back properly so it's visible from the trail. Slow down and take a few seconds to take care of the cache you're finding to not make things harder for hiders.
Slow down,
Wow.
why? No, this is a cash run. I'm not slowing down. Oh, maybe I should. Sorry.
Starcacher says, I try using the scuba style bisons because
Mhm.
if they are hung, they don't leak even without the O ring. And
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
that's a great answer. And I've seen a number of those tubes that do actually work well without the O rings.
Yeah.
So that's my preference, but typically they cost a little bit more. Anyway, you were going to get to the lock and lock containers as well.
So, lock and locks, they can wear out over time. They are plastic, right? And if you don't wanna have to steal your significant other's Tupperware out of the cabinet, and let me say, don't do that. Not without permission. They'll find out. Okay?
Don't do that, period, because around here, someone is going to steal that container thinking it has food in it, or you just end up with a hole in the side.
Mm.
And remember, lock and locks can be chewed through by squirrels, unlike the ammo
Yeah,
cans.
yeah.
But the
So
thing I love about the lock and locks is almost all of those are transparent. So for the land managers who require that transparent container, here you go. You'll have to
yeah,
replace them more often, but these are great cache containers in the right environment. Again, don't leave them out in the sun.
exactly. So I
Don't
did a
leave them
quick
exposed
search.
to the wind and snow and stuff like that either.
Yeah. I did a quick search on Amazon, came up with 36 different sizes of lock and locks for 40 bucks. So if you're using that for your primary cache container, they're relatively inexpensive, about a dollar a piece.
Well, to think of that as well, I think it's only probably 18 containers because usually they double it
Oh,
because
maybe
of
the
the lid
lids.
and
It's counting the lids. Mhm.
right. But think about it as a starter kit. That
There
way
you go.
you'll have the lock and lock for just about any size. Yeah, I had done one of those kind of kits at one point, created cache containers out of all of them, and quickly found that there were a few sizes I never used and a bunch of them that I always used.
Yeah.
And on a boat says a buck 50 for two 8-ounce lock and lock at Dollar General.
Yeah. Um, and in case you wanted to know, he's got a stockpile of like 100 of them.
Yeah, any of those cache hiders who hide a bunch, it will have a whole pile of these containers.
Yeah.
Now, I
So,
also know a lot of the prolific hiders that go for like the Gatorade bottles are really popular up here, and
hmm,
they have special process of like bleaching them to make sure that they have no um, odors left on
smell.
them.
Mhm.
and then they go and paint them so that it makes it more durable because it protects from the UV. So
Interesting.
that's a big scientific project that a couple of the hiders up here have talked about doing, and how they compare the notes and ended up with this perfect system that they've got going for this environment. And they, when they spray paint it, it comes up with like a camo type look to
Mhm.
it.
Finish. Mhm.
Yeah, it's not, they just kind of quickly randomly spray paint it with a few different colors, and it just blends into most of the environments in which they're hiding.
Nice. Uh, GSM times two. Speaking of lock and lock, said I had someone put my lock and lock upside down. It filled with water, even in California. Um,
The big problem that I've seen with those lock and locks is someone leaves something stuck in that
yeah,
seal, that O-ring.
yeah, it
So
pops out a little bit. Even a
yeah,
sheet of log paper coming out through there will break that seal. Yeah,
exactly. So as soon as that anything gets stuck in there, it's not watertight at all.
yeah. Wet Coaster says many times I found lock and lock tape containers with 1, 2, or 3 tabs broken off.
Yep, which goes
Um,
back to that, you have to replace these more often. Get out there,
mhm.
do the maintenance on your caches, and you'll have to change them out.
I remember finding one time. Someone had managed to put the lid on upside down and still get it to clip.
I have
I
no
don't
idea
I
how that
look at
works.
that and I go, "How did they do this?"
That's insane.
Yeah.
But I've run into a few cachers who will actually every season just go out and swap out all their containers. Just
Mhm.
okay, I'm going out to do maintenance. Here's the replacement container for this one. Plop. Okay, here's this one back in the bag. They'll take those home, clean them up, and put them out the next season.
Right.
And some of those even go so far as to have their like winter containers and then the rest of the year containers.
Mhm.
Because winter, you don't want a lock and lock out there. They will crack.
They will crack. Buffalo Bob says soda bottle preforms work very well for paddle caches that can be submerged when water is high but are still dry inside. They work everywhere, Buffalo Bob. That I think is a great container. It's
The only
straight up and
problem,
down, right?
yep,
So like a Gatorade bottle, even though it's got a wide mouth, the body of the bottle is still bigger. So getting
right,
things out of it is difficult.
yeah, definitely. The one problem that I've seen with those preforms is that over time the caps will fail.
Mhm. Well, go buy
But
yourself a soda.
yeah, or just replace the container. It's one of the better containers out there for
Right.
sure.
Um, on a boat. Well, on a boat
Go ahead.
says, how about this for a tip? Daryl, we just we know we both are trying to read the same thing and click on it. And well, there you go. On a boat says, how about this for a tip? Just go out and check on your caches, even without getting a DNF or a needs maintenance log.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're
Yeah,
going
right. Who's
for.
going to do that?
Y-
Oh,
y-
wait.
This is a time of year you should go out and check on all your caches. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just check on it, make sure it's in good shape. If you
Mhm.
have one of those rare caches that has swag in it, check up on the
Ooh,
swag, make sure that that's all topped off.
that's right.
And we are running a
Especially,
little long, so we should probably wrap this up pretty
okay.
soon.
I was going to say,
But
check on your swag, especially if it's possibility of a children's themed cache that,
yeah.
children may be excited to go find.
Well, and this is not just do this time of year. It depends on a whole variety of things in your area, of course. But if you've got an event coming up, that's another great time. Get out there, take care of your caches near the event, near any major roads on the way to an event, so that when people find them, they'll be in good shape. Okay, I'm a little puzzled about this one. Starcacher says some of the preforms are European size and US size soda pop caps do not fit.
Oh, interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
know there were different sizes. Well, I mean, obviously there are, but hmm.
And GSM times two has a excellent point,
Mhm.
which I think you were just about to read.
He says, I'm going to change his wording slightly. And when you do check on your caches, leave a owner's maintenance log, even if everything was okay.
Yeah, it's just that assurance to everyone that you've done the maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a problem, it shows you are taking care of the cache. And let's say you're out of town for a couple of weeks or whatever, the reviewer is going to be a little bit more lenient in the archiving, I'm sure. Ian says he drops an owner maintenance every time he visits any of his caches, even if he was just there a week ago. Oh, yeah, and he has a good point. It resets the health score and it lets other cachers know it was actually checked.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, I've totally forgot about the health score. So, yeah, we could keep going on and on and on and on and on about cache maintenance, and we probably will in another show. But we'll wrap up this one. And next week is going to be a randomized show. So guess what? We get to talk more about the cache maintenance probably then, because I'm sure more of you are going to be sending in your comments, questions, tips, tricks, just about anything else, whether it's on the cache maintenance or anything we've covered in the last several weeks, or just some interesting finds maybe that you had. So send those into geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com by the 16th so that we can include those on the show. Again, that's geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com. And we'd like to have those for the show by the 16th. However, we've got another really cool show coming up on 482, episode 482, because that's April 1st. We love those April 1st shows. But this time we're going to be doing another one of those foolish cacher shows. I always love these because we get to kind of make fun of ourselves and kind of learn by example, don't do this. So email your stories to geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com. Any of your silly mistakes, the stuff that is kind of I can't believe I did that. Send those in to geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com by March 30th so that we can include those on that show.
And if you just can't wait until then, check the Cacheamaniacs website at cacheamaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners. So leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cacheamaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cacheamaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cacheamaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2021 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cache with a Cacheamaniac.